right, Q, we solid? We straight?
Action. Sorry, rolling.
Oh, okay. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Straight? You good?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to sit there. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Caleb with HunterBoyz Outdoors. So glad that you could be with us today. I'm very excited about this guest because today we have the chance to maybe tackle something a little bit different, learn about something completely new that honestly it didn't really occur to me that this actually had a huge function in the outdoors and as far as like the effects that it has, but also why certain things are the way they are. So let me introduce you, my friend Alex. Or do you go by Alex or
Alex.
Okay,
Yeah.
Alex. All right,
Yeah.
cool. So my friend Alex, Mr. Alexander Rogers. Are you the first?
Yeah.
Okay. No,
Not
no.
the only though.
There you go. No, this is my good buddy Alex. We actually work together, and he has a very interesting hobby that he does. But maybe before we get into that, please introduce yourself. Tell us about you, and maybe we can dive in a little bit about why you're here.
Hey, so I'm Alex. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. Um, been wanting to. I was thinking about joining the Air Force or some part of the military most of my life, and did the whole military thing. Still in the military, and that's how I met Caleb. So yeah, that's how it brought us together.
We ended up being at the same squadron, and we were just like, it was kind of I don't know, it was kind of funny how it happened. We were just like, hey,
Yeah.
and then it
Yeah,
just
we're like, you want to be friends?
and so no, and so I got to actually learn more about him. And actually, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a very crappy friend, and I'm very crappy at communicating. Um, and I felt bad because I was always like, it felt like I was shunning him off or like not trying to hang out, which totally wasn't the case. Um, having a whole family is very
And I don't have kids. I have a wife, but no kids yet. So I kind of try to understand where he's coming from. Like I can't imagine what it's
right.
like to.
Well, and then on top of this, because you've been kind of knowing like what's transpiring like a little bit behind the scenes. I was like,
Mhm.
hey, I'm trying to start this up again, and trying to get this all aligned and figured out. And hey, as you can see, this is the new studio setup. It's so nice. I love
Wow.
it. Oh my god. But no, and so we've been working very hard to make sure that we obviously give you guys the best experience, and making sure that obviously that we bring you great content, but also that we actually do try, right? Like we want to make sure that we can bring you the most professional content possible on a budget, on a staff sergeant budget. and so we've been working with that anyway. So I was kind of unintentionally having to like dodge him, like, hey, I can't, this is going on, this is going on. And then one day I called you.
Mhm.
I was like, I'm just gonna FaceTime him because I was having a hard time like doing school. And I was like, I'm just gonna FaceTime him. And he had like just got home from work, or you had
I
been
was on the
home.
way to somewhere or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
And then we just started talking. Well, then I happened to FaceTime you while you were at your house one time,
Hmm.
and you had like we started talking about like your hobby. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's really interesting. Like, so what kind of made you start doing this? And then he's like, well, come here, I'll show you.
Yeah.
And then it's just this vastness of
Yeah.
bins
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is this? And he's like, oh, well, this is where I keep all my snakes.
Yeah.
I'm like, huh?
For you guys that don't know yet, I keep the largest species of python in the world, the reticulated python,
Okay.
and that's my hobby. So
So okay. So would you say that your hobby is snakes?
snakes, yeah, snakes in general.
Okay.
I'd say reptile keeping because I've kept other reptiles than just snakes, but
Okay.
mostly snakes my whole life. Yeah.
Okay. So how in the world did you start doing that?
Hmm. Yeah. So for a lot of people, it starts with their parent or parental figure getting them a pet
Mm.
as a kid, and that's how it started for me. So when I was maybe 9 or 10 years old, my dad decided to get a pet snake, a pet ball python, just a normal ball python. Um, and they make great pets. I mean, snakes, reptiles in general, especially for kids, are just amazing pets because they're just so easy to care for. Um, and it teaches the kid, kinds of responsibility,
Right.
and you can teach them about nature. You can go, and it gets them interested in something that you you will never stop learning about. So,
That is a very like interesting way to like bring about it, um,
mhm,
because, and I'm just probably speaking for the masses. It's not that I don't mind snakes,
mhm,
but when I see a snake, I automatically go to like
fear.
fear, kill,
Mhm,
stay away, get
mhm.
back.
And
Right?
you know what that is? Misunderstanding.
Yeah, for sure, for
I
sure.
understand that animal. You don't understand that animal the same
Right.
way that I do. So, the only way to get over that fear is knowledge.
Sure, sure. And what would you say that the probably the number one piece of knowledge that people should know?
Is that not every snake is dangerous, and even snakes that are dangerous, there's ways um, to make them not dangerous and mitigate those dangers to where they're not a threat at all, really.
Mm.
And they're so important to our environment and the outdoors that it's better to just leave a snake alone than anything else.
That's interesting that you said that. So, do they just help our environment because they keep natural order? And as
Oh
far
yeah.
as like, prey and predator,
Yeah.
is that like one of the
Yeah,
bigger
I mean they
reasons?
keep rodent populations down, and so those
Yeah.
rodent populations, if they get out of control, then your agriculture, they affect the agriculture and everything. So it's a whole. They're a part of the food chain. Like
Right.
they're there for a reason.
Right.
So they fill that niche for a reason.
Mm.
So.
Yeah, I guess, and this is me, and I just don't know.
Mhm.
So like a lot of these things, I talk out of a lack of understanding,
Mhm.
and I think sometimes like you kind of know that in like the back of your mind,
Mhm.
like, well, yeah, they are good for the environment, but stay away from my home.
Mhm.
When in reality, if it was another rodent, I'd just be like, oh, stupid,
Mhm.
stupid squirrel. You know what
Mhm.
I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's a huge, excuse me, I think there's a huge lack of understanding when it comes to these, reptiles, like you said.
Mhm.
Um, and so like, what, like, even if somebody like doesn't like snakes, how do they? What's the best way for somebody to quote unquote protect their home?
Mhm.
And then like, what do you do if you start like noticing snakes around your house,
Mhm.
but you don't necessarily like want to kill them? Like,
Mhm.
what's like the best thing to like do?
The best thing to do if you see a snake is to leave it alone,
Hmm.
unless it's you know in your house. Then call somebody to remove it,
Okay.
and especially if you don't know what it is, don't pick it up because not just in Oklahoma, but a lot of places, we have a ton of venomous species.
Don't we have like, I could be 100% wrong, but don't we have like 5 to 7 like
Hmm.
venomous
Oh yeah.
rattlesnakes in Oklahoma?
Yeah. Yeah, and we have some. We have I think we have a Masagana that's super hard to ID if you don't know what you're looking for.
What is that?
A Masagana. It's like a pygmy rattlesnake kind of, but it doesn't look like a rattlesnake. It looks like a rat snake. So, but it does have a little rattle. So that's
Shut
yeah,
Well, that's kind of scary.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you're like, oh man,
yeah, yeah. That's probably our hardest snake to ID.
okay.
That's dangerous in Oklahoma.
Hmm.
Um, but we even have alligators in Oklahoma.
We do.
Hmm.
They're actually,
Yeah.
I don't know the actual numbers, But yeah, they're actually starting to kind of move up out of the southeast
Hmm.
and starting to go up.
Yeah,
so
they
which is
range
crazy.
all the way up into southeast Oklahoma, so out of Louisiana or somewhere.
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's
So and
wild.
they're super, dude. Alligators are the coolest reptiles ever. I'm
They
just
really
gonna go about them for a little bit, but the water in Oklahoma will freeze over, and alligators will stick their nose out of the water, and the water will freeze like over their nose, and they'll be able to breathe out when the lakes are frozen over down in southeast Oklahoma. Yeah, and they'll survive. Dude, they're dinosaurs. They've been on the earth for millions of years.
That's wild,
Yeah,
dude.
isn't that cool?
So they literally create like an airway port.
Yeah, yeah.
So they
They stick their nose above water. They know when the water's about to freeze. So they'll stick their nose above water, the water will freeze and their nose will be sticking out and they'll be able to breathe.
That's
And they'll be safe because the water below is warmer than the water on the top. That's frozen.
Are they cold blooded?
Yep, all reptiles are cold-blooded. Well,
Okay.
most reptiles are
Right.
cold-blooded. Yeah.
So how do they? So is just the water like helping them regulate temperature?
Yeah, so yeah, they're able to withstand super cold temperatures even in, Florida where they're mostly from.
Mm-hmm.
It still gets cold in Florida.
That's true.
It doesn't freeze, but it'll get cold.
That is
so.
true. And that wet cold hits different.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
definitely hits
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I never really thought about that.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So, all right. Sorry, but yes, that is cool. I
Mhm.
didn't know about the little alligator airport.
Mhm.
That's cool. So specifically with your setup,
Mhm.
with what you do,
Mhm.
so you have how many snakes do you have?
Like 28 or 30.
So for the normal person, for the
Mhm.
normal individual, why so many snakes?
Because they're fun.
You're just like, because I like 'em."
Because I like 'em.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that's the best response because
Yeah.
if you enjoy something, there's
And I'm able to responsibly keep that many.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
What
I'm
do
able to manage that many.
So how do you hold on? So how do you manage 28 snakes? First off,
I work every day nonstop until, I might be up until midnight sometimes, 1 a.m. sometimes working. I work every single day. Yeah, every day. But I'm a servant to those animals. I love those animals more than anything. So it's like it's just what I do. So
that's really interesting.
yeah.
That's awesome. And honestly, to have a love for something that is, I wouldn't say like is uncommon, but
Mhm.
the love for that animal is uncommon. That's
Mhm.
that's honestly like truly special
Mhm.
that you care about it, right? And you
Mhm.
wanted to see it thrive
Yeah.
and grow and like multiply, right?
Yeah, my snake room's a little dirty right now because we were just in Texas for a couple days. And that's the cool thing about reptiles is like you can, check their water and and then step away for a couple days if you have to and then come back.
Right.
If you got to go on vacation for 3 or 4 days, check their water,
Mhm.
make sure everybody has full waters before you go and then make sure everybody's clean before you go and then you're good for a couple days if you need to be. So
Yeah, unlike us dog people that
yeah,
have
dog-
to
you
get
gotta-
a babysitter.
Yeah,
and-
I mean, we had to board our dogs, and that was a fortune, man. So,
yeah, no kidding.
so
I know. I don't know what I'd do without Q watching my dogs. I'd be really sad, and I'd be even more broke. But no, but yeah, but that is like something that, and I think that's just the normality in like the way we live in like the American culture is just like, oh, everybody has a dog and that's
Yeah.
part of the happy family,
yeah,
and so you just kind of accept the responsibility, which let's be completely honest, and I think this probably goes for snakes and just animals in general. I don't think necessarily everybody's cut out to be a animal parent.
absolutely.
You know what I
not.
mean?
Yeah, even with snakes, I mean, there's unfortunately, there's a lot of neglect that just happens. It's just,
Yeah.
it's just, and it sucks because that stuff comes out, and that's what the public sees.
Right.
And we're not all that way. So
Right.
You'll see these horrible pictures online of how people keep their animals sometimes, and it's just not a good reflection of the hobby. And
Wow, that
uh,
sounds extremely familiar.
yeah,
It's so annoying.
yeah,
I hate being placed in a bucket
hmm,
with like everybody in it.
yeah,
Sure, we all sometimes can do certain things, right,
hmm,
that we enjoy, but not everybody's the same.
yeah,
Not everybody is equal as far as like the care
hmm,
and the constant drive to make sure that like, oh, okay, you know what, I want to do this safely and effectively.
yeah. I mean, there's a huge thing going on in the reptile community right now, where this lady brought a stinking gaboon viper to a school to like do like a show and tell for it, one of those animal presentations.
Is it? Hold on. Aren't all vipers venomous?
Yeah, yeah. It was
Okay.
a venomous animal, and there she took a video of it and posted it on Facebook, and she got lit up by the venomous community. So reptiles, for everybody that doesn't know, like there's the reptile community in a whole, and then there's different buckets in
Sure.
the reptile community, right?
Yes, sir.
So what you guys see is the reptile community as a whole. What we see is different buckets, right? So there's like the venomous keepers bucket.
Right.
You know, there's people out there that, you know, responsibly and safely keep venomous animals, you know, in and they do it responsibly, safely, and that's what they love to do. There's people that keep, you know, big snakes. There's people that keep small snakes, just ball pythons. You
Mhm.
know, there's people that just keep lizards, a certain species. You know, so um, it's endless. The reptile community is endless, and
Right.
it's not just one dimensional
Why in the world would somebody bring a venomous snake?
because they're an idiot.
Cause so growing up,
Hmm.
I very much did the whole like cowboy thing, like breaking horses, you know, living on a farm, um, you know, learning how to tend to animals, you know,
Hmm.
water, food, making sure that everything's safe, right? I would never
Hmm.
put one of my friends
Hmm.
on a what we call a green horse. I don't
Hmm.
know if you know what
Hmm.
that is.
Yeah.
I would never do that
Yeah.
unless you are specifically trained, and I wouldn't say professional, but unless you know what you're doing,
Hmm.
I would never put you on a horse that has only so much training.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just ego, irresponsibility. It's, you know, just being an idiot.
That's
So,
so that's so unfortunate.
and it's not a reflection of the entire community. It's really
Yeah.
not. You know.
Well, I mean, listen, dude. I mean, I'll say outdoorsmen, more specifically hunters, dude. I mean, it's the same rep, dude.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
uh, poachers or individuals. Maybe they don't necessarily mean bad, but they post things that are not necessarily like, not saying trying to hide it, but
Hmm.
perception is
Yeah.
kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like maybe we shouldn't just like post that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not trying to make excuses for them because I feel like, you know, you should be able to express how you feel, but you know, at the same time, if you're trying to protect something
Hmm.
that you value and it's not necessarily super popular, maybe we should like think about things before we like do something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like you're kind of
Yeah.
in that same boat, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's very, very, very frustrating sometimes to
Hmm.
try to work with other people that don't necessarily care as much.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, nobody knew who this lady was or who this person was, and it's like, who the heck is this lady? Like, she's not even in our community. Like, she's not even a part of the venomous community. So it's like, or that community. So they were like blindsided by this, and it's they're like, it's just so unfortunate for them.
So speaking of that unfortunate situation, so what species do you?
Reticulated
Okay,
pythons.
so
Well,
is
I more specifically, I work with reticulated pythons, green anacondas. I work with Suriname red tail boas, blood pythons, and Burmese pythons.
okay, okay. Um, so I know for a fact we have a snake problem in Florida.
Hmm.
Do you know which species?
That's the Burmese python.
Okay,
Hmm.
so why do we have this invasion of this species in Florida?
Hmm. Okay, so I don't remember exactly what year it happened, but Hurricane Andrew destroyed a Burmese python breeding facility. I can't remember the owner of the facility guy's name. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it destroyed this facility, and this guy was working with 1,000 plus Burmese pythons. He was employing people.
Oh, so he was like
yeah, yeah. He's like a breeder, like a dog breeder, kind of. But with Burmese pythons,
Right.
because Burmese pythons were big then, so they're still big now. They're amazing animals, but Hurricane Andrew came and basically wiped out his facility, and that was like the catalyst to the Burmese python invasion of Florida, and yeah, so that's what happened.
Wow.
Hmm.
I did not know that.
Yep.
And so now it's just. Would you say that it's overran, or like
Oh
how
yeah,
would you?
they'll,
How would you
they'll
kind
never, they will never exterminate Burmese pythons from Florida.
Is-
They might as well be, they might as well be an established. They are an established species. They're an established population now.
is
The same thing with the green iguana too. The green iguana
That's
is an
right.
established
That's
population. of green
right.
iguanas now.
Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
I actually forgot about that.
Mhm.
So do you think that the Burmese python, we can kind of get to a point where it's just like cohabitat, or is the Burmese python gonna like decimate what's
They
in
already
Florida?
have decimated Florida. So there's parts of Florida's where rabbits used to exist. They don't exist there anymore. Uh, there was a study in 2012. I think the hurricane happened in 2009. I think, don't hold me to that, but
But we can always
yeah,
research it. And
yeah,
put
we
it,
can research
it
and
right
edit it in. But um, there was a study done in 2012, and like deer population was down by 90%.
Deer.
Deer. These pythons are I think they're they're in the big four. So
Okay.
so the big four is the reticulated python,
Mm-hmm.
the green anaconda, the African rock python, and the Burmese python. So those are the big four. Those are your big four snakes, and they're one of the they get 18, 19 foot, 150, 175 pounds,
Dude, I can't even imagine.
200 pounds. Yeah, a snake, that big.
And that could
It can easily overpower a deer, easily.
because they just. I mean, how much? Do you know how much force
Oh,
that they average when they
they're
curl?
strong. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I don't know
I mean-
like numbers, but they're strong.
They can. I mean, they obviously can squeeze the life out of a deer.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying
And
deer are like
so-
super strong, but
Yeah, when a snake is constricting something, it's not. You think it's not allowing their lungs to expand. It's a little bit of that, but it's also raising their blood pressure so much that they actually die from a heart attack, not from asphyxiation. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
So you literally panic to death.
No, you
Or
have
well,
you have a heart attack and you die. Yeah. They die from cardiac arrest, not from asphyxiation. So,
huh?
yeah. A little fun fact.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah. That's stuff that you learn when you become a reptile keeper.
That's
Is
interesting.
you learn all these little fun, useless knowledge facts.
Do you have to like take? So in order to become like a, would you consider would you consider yourself? If I could frickin' talk, that would be wonderful. Would you consider yourself an established breeder?
No. This is
Okay.
my first season of breeding.
Okay, so this is
Yeah.
more of a hobby for you.
It's more of a hobby. It's not a business yet, but I would like to turn it into one.
Shoot, yeah.
Hmm.
What incentives do you have to become like a legit like breeder? Is it just strictly money?
Yeah.
Or is it?
Just money.
Yeah.
Really.
Well,
I mean,
I'm sure it takes a lot to be able to feed all those.
oh yeah,
animals.
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Like this isn't like
I need
This isn't-
500 chickens.
Yeah. this this isn't like I would love 500 chickens. You got a chicken guy?
No,
I got
no.
a chicken guy.
Do you
Yeah.
really?
Don't worry, it's already taken care of. But
Wow.
so yeah, I mean it's a lot of work. It's not just like it's not just like a hobby. I consider it like a part-time job
Yeah.
almost, like
Sure.
I come home from the Air Force and, do my stuff around the house, and then I'm in the snake room most days,
Wow.
I'm always busy.
Feel
So,
you on that.
yeah.
Feel you on that.
So,
Wow, I feel like I've learned so much just sitting here for a few minutes,
mhm,
just like talking. Wow,
yeah.
that's insane. So, what it? Let's say you're talking to somebody.
So to answer your question, an established breeder
Oh yeah, yeah,
is somebody like Bob Clark. So he's one of the biggest python breeders in North America,
yeah.
and he lives up in Nichols Hills in Oklahoma City. Yeah. So yeah, he's not too far. I'm there all the time.
Wow,
Yeah, I'm good friends with them. So
that's cool.
yeah. So he's breeding thousands of snakes a year. He has full-time employees. He has 4 full-time guys, that work for him, and
Wow.
so and he's been doing it for 40 years.
Wow.
So
So
yeah.
this is he's got like a track record.
Oh yeah, he's been doing it for he's like the OG when it comes to reticulated
And
pythons.
and I'm not trying to be silly, but it's so funny that he decided to like have his establishment here
Hmm.
in like the tornado area.
Well, it's because our laws are so good here when it comes to
Mm,
keeping reptiles, and that's our biggest threat when it comes to the reptile community, and I'm sure like the hunting community too, is laws.
every state is different.
Is
Dude.
laws. Yep, every state's different.
Yeah.
Like Florida, it's basically like Nazi Germany there when it comes to keeping reptiles. You
Yeah.
can't keep anything in Florida. Pretty much anything. You can keep a few things, but ever since the Burmese python thing happened, and it's really unfortunate for people in Florida, but I mean, there was this huge thing that made national news
Right.
where this guy, he had a bunch of Burmese pythons in his facility, and the FWC came and slaughtered them all.
Really?
Yeah, slaughtered them because he didn't have them. He didn't have them registered.
Like registered?
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
But it's not as simple as that. I mean, he tried to get them registered, but the FWC wouldn't respond.
That's.
So
Do you think they did that on purpose? Or I mean, I'm not trying to necessarily say this is what happened,
mhm,
but
you know,
I mean, it's
maybe.
kind of convenient that
Yeah.
they were just like didn't
Yeah.
respond.
I mean, it didn't turn out good for them. So
It's
probably,
unfortunate.
I think they came to, they had already confiscated the animals, so they belonged to the FWC at a certain
Oh.
point. So, yeah.
Huh. Let me ask you this then. Man, I have so many directions that I want to go because I have so many questions.
Yeah.
Because like I have like the whole like I'm curious about like the breeding aspect, but
Mhm.
then I'm also curious about like this problematic
Mhm.
situation that we have in like Florida.
Mhm.
Like for example, do you think there should be like a legal, which I can't speak to the exact rules just because I haven't brushed up on it as far as like the Florida
Mhm.
Wildlife Department goes, right? But like, would you advocate for like a like hunting regulation for like python?
Oh, there are you can the law is if you see a Burmese python, you don't have to do anything about it, because like you or a Q, they wouldn't, y'all wouldn't know what to do with a 18-foot Burmese python.
Right.
But if you touch the animal, then it has to be euthanized, and it's a wild Burmese python. It has to be euthanized. Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they just say, "Hey, let's make this. Have some legal ground to like say, hey, we're gonna authorize." Um, I feel like it's kind of like the whole pig situation in like Louisiana, Texas, where they're just like,
Mhm.
if you see a pig, you
Yeah.
can shoot it or
Yeah,
you can
that's
take
how
it.
it is pretty much.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got you. This how?
But the reason why they're so out of control is because they lay, you know, 80 plus eggs every.
Man, that's interesting.
They can start breeding at 18 months. When they crawl out of the egg, they breed at 18 months, and then they're making, they might have 30 eggs their first season, and then they're off to the races. They're having, in each season they're having more and more and more eggs. So they'll start out, 30 eggs, 50 eggs, 70 eggs, get up to 100. The largest clutch of Burmese python eggs that I've heard of is like 120 eggs.
Oh
And they've
my
caught and they've caught
gosh.
they've caught wild Burmese pythons with, and they've ultrasounded them with 80 plus eggs in them. Yeah,
So their
in Florida.
so their reproduction rate must be
It's insane.
how often I don't know the language that I'm trying to use. How often can they reproduce?
Um, like every September, they
So it is yearly. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's because I think like rabbits can do like every 30 days. Pigs can do every. I could be wrong.
We breed them once a year, but in the wild, there's nobody.
Right.
There's no like chaperone. There's it's a male finds a female that has enough food, and
So
they'll be she'll be gravid. So
please do not laugh at me too hard. But do they like go into heat? Is that like what it's called?
no,
or like
they'll go off food. So
what do you,
they'll
how do you
food
mean?
cycle, like, so in captivity we feed them a lot. We'll feed them to get them ready to breed, and then when the female goes off food, they'll stop eating. So they'll be eating a rabbit every 4 or 5 days, and then all of a sudden she'll go off food, and then that's when to introduce the male.
Is it pretty easy to like when I say regulate? Like, is it like okay, usually about every 10 days, like she goes off food, right?
No, once she goes off food, she won't eat until she lays the eggs.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, does it take
Until she gets off the eggs. So
Okay.
you'll take the female off the eggs, rinse her, wash her, let her soak in, a tub or whatever, and then you'll put her back in her cage, and then she should go back on food.
Is it for like the male and female when they're in the same cage? Is it like a one hit wonder? Like pretty much when they like is it as far as like insemination goes? Like is it pretty easy, or is there like multiple tries that have to be made?
There can be multiple tries.
Okay, so sometimes
yeah.
you do have to keep on trying.
And you can, we call it lock. You can lock a female with a male more than one time to better your odds.
Okay, that's kind of what I was
Yeah.
like. I'm sorry if that was unclear, but like that's what I was trying to ask. Like, do you have to like try like a 2 or 3 times to make sure
You
that
can get it
that
done with
she's
one.
like
You can get it
fertilized?
done with one breeding for sure. But we like
Huh.
to get as many locks as possible because that just betters your odds.
Because it more
Yeah.
more eggs or
Yeah.
whatever. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
and breeding spurs follicular growth. Growth of the eggs, so it'll make her want more, have more eggs, and like there's this whole cycle. So
Whoa, dude.
especially with ball pythons,
That's completely
ball
different.
pythons eat while they breed, but reticulated pythons they won't. They'll be off food until after they get off the eggs.
Man, that's a lot of things that you have to kind of.
Track, yeah,
Yeah.
especially when you're breeding more than one female. Yeah, it's a lot, but there's ways to track things, and
Right. So do you like log everything?
yeah, mostly. When I just did this one female this season, I didn't log anything because she's my main focus, right? But this year I'm planning on breeding, 3 or 4 females.
Okay.
So
So this female that you just had, how many eggs did you actually have?
32 eggs.
And are they all like they're all fertilized?
Yeah, they're
like all, like,
fertile. She laid one egg late,
okay.
a couple days late, so I'm cautiously optimistic. It's in the incubator,
Okay.
but I don't know because Bob told me that, if a female lays an egg late, then usually it's bad. But I want to incubate everything just to give it a chance.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's fertile, so we'll see what happens.
That's interesting. So how long do they stay in the incubator?
90 days.
It's a long time.
90 days at 88 degrees.
So in the wild, would would that female just like would they like sit on top of the eggs?
Yeah,
basically?
in the wild, that female would fight and die for those eggs.
They're
So
obviously doing a pretty good job at
yeah,
it with
yeah,
the way.
yeah.
Oh, is the habitat in Florida the same as as it is in their natural habitat?
No,
No, it's not.
well, it's conducive to their, but taking, you know, Indonesia and comparing it to Florida,
Okay,
it's, you know,
so they're originally from
yeah,
Indonesia.
um, they range from, let me think, India,
Okay,
so East India all the way up to South China. They'll be in China and then all the way down, like
okay,
yeah, not into Korea, but in some pockets of Indonesia, they'll be in Indonesia.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so
No.
like, is it rainforest? Like, what's the
Like
bi-
Vietnam, Burma, that area.
so like really thick like rainforest?
Yeah, thick rainforest.
Thick.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
Florida isn't a thick rainforest, but it's that tropical
Yep.
environment where there's a lot of water. There's big prey.
I mean, it ain't very much far off.
Yeah,
Of
it's
their
not far off. It's not the same habitat, but it's not far off. And they thrive in mostly in the Everglades, but they range all the way up into the Panhandle of Florida. Yeah, yeah. The real problem's in the Everglades, but
Right.
they'll range.
Do you think they'll ever somehow, some way push up, or do you just think
I think
they're
they
kind
are.
of
I
locked
think
up?
they are pushing towards Louisiana,
Oh my gosh! Could you
but
imagine?
yeah, I mean it's bad. I mean there's nothing that we can do to stop it. I mean, and it's
Mm.
not. And it, let me tell you this: it's not the worst species in Florida or even America. That's an invasive species. You know what the worst invasive species in America is
Hmm.
that causes the most damage? House cats.
That's right.
House cats. Yeah. So I mean, house cats destroy the environment, especially the bird environment.
That is very
They
true.
kill everything. They kill birds. They kill all across. The Burmese pythons. Thankfully, right now, just localized in Florida, mostly
Mhm.
South Florida. House cats are everywhere.
So I am hopefully not speaking out of turn, but I have seen something before. I'd have to do some research, but I have seen some numbers before of like stray cats and how like a lot of times cats don't always kill for food. They just kill for fun.
Yeah, they just killed just
Right.
to kill. Yeah.
That's interesting. I never really thought about that
Yeah.
before. But yeah,
Yeah.
so like why is there like this huge uprise for like the Burma, well, I say huge uprise, okay? Within our terms, right? Like how come this, Burmese python issue is like, oh my god, it's such a big issue, but like this house cat thing is like, oh, well, yeah, I love kitty cats, cat videos. Oh my
Because
god.
it's easy to regulate reptiles. It's not, you can't regulate a house cat.
Yeah,
Would you
true.
imagine telling every American you're not allowed to keep a house cat anymore? But you can tell every American, and you can have Americans gang up on on the reptile community.
Well,
It's easier to victimize or to go after the reptile community than it is to go after that.
could you imagine the uproar if there was like a I don't I'm trying to use the proper terms here, but like if there was like a cat unit
Mm-hmm.
that went out there and like,
Slaughtered with stray cats.
Yeah.
I mean, people would be like, "You're what?"
God, PETA would have a freaking field day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess snakes look scary, so
Yeah.
it's like not really.
Snakes are scary and they're evil, so they must be, outlawed,
Do you think that's
which is ridiculous.
so from like, we'll say like any group? I'm not gonna specialize in like one, but do you think that's a little bit problematic for like some groups saying that like, oh, like these animals are like so sweet and so caring, but then like snakes kind of get, or reptiles kind of get in like the raw end of the deal because they
Yeah.
don't look cute?
Yeah, I mean, they just get a bad rap. They've always gotten a bad rap.
Yeah.
You'll go on Facebook and see somebody cut a snake's head off with a shovel and be like, oh, the comments will be like, yeah, man, good job. You got it. But
Wow, man.
but if you saw somebody on Facebook chopping off the head of a house cat, you'd be like, what in the world? Or any other house pet, you'd be like, what? Like,
man, I've never really
thought
about it.
perspective matters. Perspective
That's really
matters.
interesting.
So
Yeah.
just think of it that way.
Huh.
But
what do you think? That's kind of
it's
interesting.
trippy, isn't it?
That is.
When you
kinda
think of
trippy.
it, from my perspective, it's a little trippy. But there is the reptile community does have a kind of knight in shining armor, if you will, and it's called USARC, United States Association of Reptile Keepers. Those are the people that protect mine and your and Q's right to keep and own and love reptiles in America. And there's a USARC Florida division. They had to make a whole new company. It's a completely different entity just for the state of Florida because their laws are so oppressive in the state of Florida.
Well, probably because they probably need a lot more resources.
They do.
To fight in Florida.
They do.
And dude, and honestly, it just comes down to money.
Yeah. And you know what the most messed up part about Florida is? Okay, so the FWC, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission, if you wanted somebody to run the FWC, who do you think would be a great pick? Like maybe an environmentalist, a scientist,
right?
Somebody. Everybody on the board of FWC is a land developer.
Yeah, I don't really.
Is a land developer.
Which is not good for anybody.
Land development in Florida is the biggest ecosystem killer in Florida.
Yeah. 100%.
And there's land developers running FWC. They're all running FWC. Isn't that a little backwards, don't you think?
I think it's just convenient.
It's convenient for them.
Yeah.
And they make the laws on what people in Florida are allowed to keep. And Florida is such a big state. It affects what Florida does. Another state looks at and goes, that's a good idea. Oh, maybe we can adopt, Florida's doing such a good job. Let's copy their laws. And then that's how it spreads. And then that's how our rights are impacted.
Wow. Well, dude, I just for one of the classes that I'm in right now, I had to write a research paper, like an argumentative research paper on hunting ethics and why hunting is why I think hunting is good. And I had to really go in depth, and I found a lot of really good info. I'm not going to go into that. I don't want to be boring. Maybe that'll be another podcast where we can actually break out data and stuff like that. But I found a lot of really good info. But man, one of the biggest things that I saw, and one of our big problems that we have, is land development. The bigger we as a human race, as we grow, man, we constantly demolish habitat and that biodiversity that we just love and we want. Man, we really don't want biodiversity because if we truly care about animals and the planet, well, dude, what do we do with because we had jaguars in North America. Do we really want jaguars in North America where they're supposed to be?
Yeah.
Because if so...
And the Burmese python is affecting the jaguar population in Florida. There's still wild jaguars in Florida.
Well, right. That's true. That is true.
They don't call them the Florida Jaguars for, just nothing.
Right. Right.
But, they're affecting, every mammal population, even the gator population down there. They'll eat gators and they'll eat anything they can get around.
Right. And so it's just... In that commonality that I've seen, I've seen this constant growth that we've had, But also we have to understand the bigger we grow, the more neighborhoods that we're going to get, the more development that we're going to get. And man, we can't get frustrated when there's an area of the population that is either having deer collisions or like turtle I don't know what to call it, but turtle interactions on the
Turtle
road.
splatters. Yeah.
I was gonna say like Mario incidents, but but like we can't get frustrated. We can't really necessarily get frustrated when we're having, maybe we see like a snake in our backyard. And,
Yeah.
oh my God, we got to keep the kids away. I'm not saying that, there aren't instances where we honestly, we unfortunately have to do something about this, obviously, like you said. But there are definitely ways that we can work around, well, maybe not work around, work with.
Yeah, and the biggest thing with that is education is key.
Yes.
Knowing what animal you're looking at, whether it be a deer, a bear, or a turtle, a snake,
Right.
being able to properly identify that animal and knowing, okay, what do I need to do next?
Do you know what snake is hard for me to identify?
What's that?
So, the water moccasin,
Mm-hmm.
and then the
Copperhead.
the copperhead, but also what's that? I forgot the actual name, but there's like a water snake that looks just like the water moccasin.
Yeah,
I
the
forgot
water snake. Yeah,
Is it just called a water
it's
snake?
just a northern or southern water snake.
Dude, they look
Yeah, eastern water snakes.
identical,
Yeah, they
dude.
look identical, pretty much. Yeah.
Because I tried to do research on it, and I was like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
honestly can't.
Yeah.
I cannot look
Yeah,
at this.
cottonmouths. The best way to identify them is off their namesake, cottonmouth. So when they threat display, they'll open up their mouth and it'll be pure white. A water snake won't do that. And a water snake will have like a red, like beautiful red belly. And a water moccasin will either be, all black. Water snakes can be all black too, so don't go off of that. But water moccasins, they have a pointed head, like a spear-shaped head.
But even sometimes
Instead of like
you
a
can't,
rounded head.
right? But like sometimes you can't even go off the head shape. I'm not saying for that snake, but like there are some snakes that kind of have that rigid, sharp head instead of the more rounded.
Yeah,
one.
and they have more of a pyramid body than a water snake. Yeah.
Huh.
More of like a pyramid.
That's interesting.
Yeah, their back is like kind of pyramid.
It's more rigid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Well, we'll have to watch for that when we go to Greg's.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a couple snakes out there.
But the best way to tell is if you get too close, it'll threat display and the mouth will be pure white.
Okay. Do snakes strike out of protection?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Really?
They don't want to. They don't want to bite you because they don't want to waste their venom on you. It takes a lot of resources for them to make that venom, and they'd rather spend that venom on what it's meant to do, which is prey. To hunt. A water moccasin is never going to win a fight against you, because
It's true.
the water moccasin might bite you, and you might stumble off and die. A couple hours later, but you're gonna kill that water moccasin no matter no matter how many times it bites you. You can just stomp it a couple times and then it's dead. So it's never gonna win a fight against you. So it doesn't want to bite you. It doesn't want to waste that valuable resource that it has.
So if you happen to like stumble up on a snake, so let's say we're like out in the woods, right? What's like the best thing to like do?
Leave it alone.
Leave it alone.
Yeah, leave it alone.
So
identify it, know that it's there, and then just leave it alone.
Okay. How do I retract? Like, let's say like let's say I'm just walking.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, okay. Let's say it's like a rattler.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You just slowly step back. Just go back the same way that you came, or you can just keep an eye on it and then just walk around it.
It's that
easy. That easy. They'll usually they'll post up, so they'll think they'll want to be big and scary. That rattle is to scare you away and all that rattle's telling you is, hey, I'm right here. Don't step on me. I don't want to get stepped on. I'm right here. and I'm
Mm.
venomous, so don't mess with me. You know, that's basically what it's telling you. And then you just have to not be a dummy and mess with it. Yeah, most
Right.
snake bites are males, 16 to 21, or I think it's 16 to 25, usually under the influence of alcohol, bitten in the hands or face.
Shut up.
Yep.
So it's just
Because they're stupid. They're
Stupidity.
stupid and they think that they're invincible, or they think that they can pick it up and
Okay.
mess with it.
So let's say that
And yeah,
worst case scenario, let's say that I just am not paying attention, or I lift a log up and I just wham,
wham, yeah,
right?
yeah.
What do I do?
You'll immediately taste copper in your mouth, like you just put like 100 copper pennies in your mouth.
Okay.
That's how you know you got bit by a venomous snake, is you'll taste that copper right away. And then you just drop everything, run to your car, call 911 and have, somebody with you drive in case you pass out, and have them drive you to the hospital right away. And you need to identify what you got bit by, because
Really?
that's the best thing to do, is identify what you got bit by, so that way they know what antivenom to give you. Antivenin is what it's called, but people call it antivenom just to make it easier for people. It's actually called antivenin, and that's the best thing to do.
Huh.
Drop everything and go to the hospital right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, like let's say me and him, right?
Mhm.
And I get hit, right?
Mhm.
If I hear, psst, is it okay if I just say rattlesnake, or is it more?
It's okay to say rattlesnake if you
Okay.
don't know
Right.
what you're looking at. You can say rattlesnake, but it's better to say, okay, this was a timber rattlesnake, eastern diamondback rattlesnake.
Oh, shoot. So really, so what you're
Because
saying
every
is,
venom is just a little bit different. Every snake has a little bit of a different venom protein that makes it just a little bit different.
so what you're saying is that I need to actually study up on my snakes.
It'd be good to. Education is the best thing that you can do, right? So education is key, especially if you're out in the wilderness and you're running into stuff and you don't know what it is.
Well, dude, and I don't. I think this is important to like have these conversations because I mean, dude, we're in the woods a lot. Dude, we're in the marsh a lot.
Yeah. You need to know what you could encounter, and what and the best thing to do is to just leave a snake alone. But snake bites will happen.
Right.
We have somebody at work. I'm not going to say their name, but they stepped on a copperhead, and luckily they didn't get bit. I'll tell you who it is after the pod, but he's very lucky that he didn't get bit.
Dude, copperheads are bad.
Yeah, they're bad. Yeah.
Oh man, that's scary though.
Mm-hmm.
Life flashed before your eyes, man.
Mm-hmm.
As you see into the future now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah. So
were they?
They were just out in the woods.
Oh, it was just. Oh, so it was just a normal, like, everyday, like, oh, I'm gonna go do this. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I think they were hunting, but yeah, they were out in the woods hunting and stepped on a copperhead. It was dark,
Oh, so it was just a happenstance.
It's something that happens, man. You're in the woods. You're gonna run into creatures.
Oh man, that's
all kinds
scary.
Of creatures.
So, man, they're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's scary. But I mean, like you said, education is a huge benefit when it comes to this, because in the terrible case that you do get bit, you need to try to be able to like identify it.
Yeah.
And then call 911.
Yeah, call 911 and don't be like, yeah, I'm going to wait for an ambulance, because they're going to take you to the hospital too. Just get in the car and go to the hospital.
How long do you have?
It depends on what you got bit by. But,
roulette.
Yeah. Depends on what you got bit by and how big the snake is, how bad, how much venom they actually pumped into you.
Is it true that baby venomous snakes are more dangerous?
Yeah, because they just unload on you. Yeah, they just
okay.
Yeah.
So I was right about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't want to sound dumb, but
but
so they just.
But luckily they have less venom to yield, but they'll use all of it. they'll use all of it.
So
yeah.
it's still a very scary
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's still scary. My friend in Florida, I went to high school in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
He got bit by a pygmy rattlesnake when he was a kid, and luckily he kept all of his toes and everything. So yeah, man, it's scary. So, but
That's insane.
education is just knowing what you got bit by, knowing what to do
Mm.
when you see a snake is the most important thing.
Dude, I need to like digest all this, dude. We've actually talked about a lot,
Yeah.
so I need to like just sit there and breathe for a minute. But
Yeah.
no, I think this has been such an interesting podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that hold on. I want to make sure I got all my questions because man, we just like it just kept on going. If I can get you right there. While I'm checking this, other than snakes, what do you like to do?
Hang out with my wife when she's not working. She works nights, so she's a nurse. She works nights, so it's like I get home and high five and out the door. See you later. And then I'm in the snake room,
Mm.
So that's pretty much how. Hang out with my wife, play video games,
Nice.
drink beer with the boys.
Nice.
But
Heck yeah.
yeah.
My only question that I didn't get to, and this will kind of be actually, I think, like a perfect ending, and we can go ahead and end it. What's your most prized snake that you have?
I love all my snakes.
Sure.
But the most amount of money I've spent on a snake is $5,000. $5,000. Snakes can get freaking expensive. This is not a cheap hobby, by the way. If you want to get into this hobby, it's not cheap. So, especially when you're keeping the largest species of python in the world.
Well,
and
you have to have the room, huh?
Your cage, yeah, the room, your caging requirements, they get big fast. So you gotta be ready to handle that animal.
So that was your most expensive purchase. Do you have a snake as far as like monetary value that is worth more now?
No.
Or is it about the same? Do they hold their value?
Yeah, they do. they actually get more valuable because
they do?
Yeah, because
Okay.
A breeding female is more valuable than a baby. Because you can breed that female and then get eggs from it and sell the babies, and that's how they retain their value or appreciate in value is, by. But that's a lot of work to get an animal that big, and
Right.
so
Well, that's like a years. That's a year
it's
process.
3 years to get a female to breeding size.
Huh. Oh wow. So
And that's pretty standard.
So you have to be like committed.
Unless it's a Burmese python, you can breed a female Burmese python in 18 months, but you're feeding that animal a lot.
And that's money to be able to just feed. And
Yep.
that's for 18 months.
Feeding is not cheap. I mean,
Can you can you give me, please don't give me exact numbers. Can you give me like a rough estimate like per month of like how much it takes?
per month
For
my collection.
yeah.
A month, maybe 1,500 to 2,000 a month.
Dang, so you're committed.
Yeah. And I just recently got a chicken guy where I'm getting a chicken for $3 a chicken. So now that cost is going to go way down. Because before I was buying rabbits online from a distributor online that sells.
Who would have thought that like, hey, I'm gonna make money selling dead rabbits? Or just
rabbits and rodent, any rodent, quail. They do quail and
they do quail.
they do all reptile feeders. It's a website called Rodent Pro. That's like the biggest. Like
it's like
there's a couple of them.
It's like Amazon for animals.
Yeah, there's Rodent Pro. There's Cold Blooded Cafe.
Okay, Cold Blood Cafe.
Cold Blood
That's
Cafe.
actually cool.
Yeah, that's a cool name. I like that name a lot. But and you're just searching for deals, But since I got a chicken guy, Bob hooked me up with him, so that just drives my cost way down.
Wow.
So yeah,
that's crazy.
I can get like a year's worth of chickens for $150. Yeah.
Wow, that's a dramatic.
It's huge. Yeah, it's a game changer. For sure.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you, Bob, Appreciate you. If you see this by
You're my guy,
happenstance.
Bob.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Wow. Okay. So you're most prized. That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
And then you're driving down your cost. Look, you're already doing good business, man.
I'm
You already
trying.
got
I
the
try
plugs
my
and
best,
everything.
man.
All right. So we do a thing. Well, I say we do a thing. This is like only like the second or third time that I've done it. But so what is your last ditch effort? Okay, so that can be a thought, that could be a question, or that could be a or like a challenge to whether them or maybe even to me. But um, what is your like last ditch effort, or do you not have one?
Support U.S. ARC, United States Association of Reptile Keepers.
There you go.
Support U.S. ARC. They're protecting mine and your rights to keep the animals that we love. So, and do what we love
Yeah. I think it's also
all across America.
Yeah.
So,
right. And man, and it's
and my rights are your rights, are Q's rights.
right.
It doesn't matter. Any right taken away is not good. So
Right.
it's just one less. It's just one less right that you have. So
Yeah.
you never know if you're gonna have a kid that you might not have any kids now, or might not know anybody that now that loves and wants to keep reptiles.
Right.
But why can't they have that opportunity to keep the reptiles?
Right. That it?
Yeah,
Is that
that's
it?
it.
Sweet.
It's good.
So for my last ditch effort, I think along the same lines as that, dude. Something that I have to like remind myself is that I don't necessarily want to like keep snakes or do anything like that, right? But I personally believe that I have a responsibility to protect and love all of God's creation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to make sure that I'm willing to sit down and like learn about reptiles. You know, is there something that I can do just in my normal everyday life that I can do to like help? And if that's not necessarily killing one, then that's me helping, right? But also in learning about these animals, it helps protect me, because if I'm in the woods or if I'm in the marsh and then heaven forbid something does happen, I can at least say, oh, well, I've done enough research. I can see that is a timber rattler or like whatever, right? And then that could potentially help save my life or save somebody else's life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I feel about it personally, is that I need to be able to love and care for all animals, no matter if they're cute or they're not. Because unfortunately, a lot of associations, they base a lot of their drive and their pursuit off of feelings and emotions, and feelings and emotions waver daily. And if you think of something as cute, I mean, that's great and all, but we can't protect the environment off of cuteness, because sometimes the environment's ugly, and I think we kind of forget that.
Yep, it's tooth and claw out there.
It is, and I'm not saying we have to be savages by any means, because we can obviously do things ethically and safe, right?
Yeah. Animals don't die of old age in the wild, people. In case you didn't know that, they don't. They die a horrible death most of the time.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
And I will say that not necessarily.
And I'd say hunting is the most humane way an animal can die in the wild.
Oh, man, I'm not gonna do it, Caleb. Oh my God, I did a bunch of research about that, and dude, you would not believe the data that shows how much hunting helps maintain population.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into it because, dude, there's so much info. And I think people don't really, kind of like how I had you here, they don't really comprehend the fullness of it.
Yeah.
Dude, hunters contribute, outdoorsmen contribute so much money to conservation, the whole, environment initiative. And some people don't say, oh, well, that's just speculation. If you really look at the numbers, it's not.
Yeah.
Because if you can find another organization that says that they care truly care about wildlife,
Mm-hmm.
animals in general, and they are, we'll say, anti hunting, okay? Or just anti killing, whatever. If you can find me an organization that fits that criteria that gives away their money
Mm-hmm.
to help the environment,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to know.
Yeah. There ain't no one out there.
I can't find one.
Yeah.
Every organization that I've seen that says that is anti or pro animal, anti hunting, I cannot find a money trail that says, hey, we're going to give to this organization that helps build the habitat
Mm-hmm.
or creates a more biodiverse area, or hey, we're going to help rebuild this population of bears, deer, snakes, any kind of like rodent,
Mm-hmm.
or bugs or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't find one.
Yeah.
I could be 100% wrong, and I'm willing to accept that, but I can't. I haven't found one.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have either, but
No.
anyway, well, I need to go like digest like everything that we've talked about. But hey, thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming on, dude. This
Yeah.
was I had a blast, and I hope that
Yeah.
you had a
Yeah,
blast
it was fun.
as well.
Yeah.
Q, appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. And hey, thank you for watching. I hope this was interesting. So please show some love. Give us a like. Give us a follow. And if there's something that you would like to maybe get more data or more or ask any kind of like questions, just drop it in the comments and we'll try to answer as best as we can. But until then, thank you so much for joining us. HunterBoyz out. Y'all be safe. God bless, guys. Thank you so much. Dude, that was fun.
Yeah, that was
That was
fun.
a blast. That was a blast.
That was good.
Dude, I feel like